Jory, having fun?
The joys of having low landing gear in the back.
Hi, it's Maggie and Joe, and we're here from Average Joe's RV Living Blog to check in. We're 580 miles from where we last checked in the Napa Valley, and we've had quite a few adventures. Some of them have been pretty nice, and some of them not
Horrible,
so nice.
horrible. We've had a couple of really horrible experiences. Over the course of 5 campsites, we're now in the 5th. This is the one where we're having some sublime experiences in it's a place called Palm Springs.
Desert Hot Springs.
Desert Hot Springs near Palm Springs.
So let's break it down. We're having a sangria, which is just a little advice. If you buy some red wine you don't like, and we have some truly horrible red wine, just mix it with some fruit juice and some soda and some cut up fruit, and voila, you've got sangria, and you've made more than lemonade. You've actually made something pretty nice. So let's break it down. We left Napa. We left Napa, and we went to Vallejo. Vallejo is just outside of San Francisco, and we've been to San Francisco, so we've seen quite a bit, but we were so close and we wanted to make sure that we had another opportunity to get in. It just seemed unfortunate to pass it by. So
I basically refused to go past San Francisco without stopping for at least one
Joe was
day.
like a dog on a leash. No, I'm not going past.
I think it's one of the great cities.
So Vallejo, can tell you the RV park was good in some ways and sort of average in others. But if you are looking for a cheap way to get proximity to San Francisco, he's here. Okay. If you're looking for a cheap way to get into proximity of San Francisco, this is the way to do it. Tradewinds RV Resort in Vallejo, 10-minute taxi ride, and we were down at the Vallejo ferry terminal, and then we had a 1-hour ferry, and we were at the Embarcadero in San Francisco. And along the way we passed Alcatraz and had views of the Golden Gate Bridge. So great way to see San Francisco.
Beautiful ferry ride, very relaxing. Everybody said do not drive your truck into San Francisco, you will regret it. So that's why we planned it this way, that we could do it as a relaxing day.
Much less our RV right through San Francisco.
Oh God, never. No, that would be insane. We'd still be there, trapped at the bottom of a hill somewhere. So yeah, so we wanted to let someone else do the driving. We wanted to let someone else do the driving and take us into San Francisco, which is what we did.
Yeah, and we took a big bus tour, which we really loved. We like doing that when we're trying to get the most bang for our buck on a short period of time. It gives us an orientation, and we learn some little known facts about the area. If we're staying a few days, then it gives us some ideas of things we want to do in the coming days. However, this was just one day, so it was in and out, on and off the bus. We had a really pricey dinner on the Embarcadero. What was it called?
The Slanted Door,
Slanted
right
Door.
in the ferry terminal building. Horrendous prices.
Fusion Chinese, I'd call it. It was,
The food was delicious, but what little we could afford to eat. And we didn't, the first time in our lives, we declined to have wine because we weren't going to pay those kind of prices.
For a couple of tapas plates and a glass of wine. So that was our day. Just a little bit about the park.
Let me just add something about that. If anyone wants to do that, what's really convenient, you take that ferry from the Vallejo ferry terminal, the very first ferry terminal you get to, I forget what it's called, but I added into the captions.
Embarcadero.
It's not called Embarcadero, it's called something else. But anyway, it's the first ferry terminal, and you get out there and you're immediately at the ferry terminal building, where you can buy tickets, and then the bus is within another block. So it's the easiest way in the world to go and do a bus tour of San Francisco.
So another fun fact is that the ferry from Vallejo also has a second stop at Fisherman's Wharf. So if you wanted to get right down in the thick of things, that's another option as well. And you can also pick it up in the evening from that same place. So that was San Francisco. A little bit about Vallejo and the Tradewinds RV Park. It is just off the highway, and again, surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of highway noise. We didn't interfere with our sleep at night. It's in a bit of I would say, a little downtrodden area. Vallejo, from what I could see, wasn't very upmarket at all. But it was next to a Hotel 6, and I think there were a lot of transient workers who come through, and I think the park is rated as having been that kind of park. However, the management was super friendly, really well organized. They gave us a sheaf of papers with directions and recommendations for grocery stores,
The
directions.
best direction sheet information sheet we've got at any place we've ever stayed at. Someone put their heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
They even had a library with videos and books. So it was kind of sweet, but end of the day, it's a parking lot so that you can get to San Francisco.
Yeah, we had one of the pull-through sites, which obviously they allocate for short term. One thing that was really, really nice is that we've got our electric bikes with us, and the manager was very kind to lock them up in the shed. She had freely admitted that they had some bike thefts in the past, and so she wanted to take that extra step for us, which I really, really appreciated. Other than that, there was very little green space. Our site was kind of dirty. There was a lot of cigarette butts. It would have been nice if someone raked that up before we got there. Someone had not picked up after their dog, so the dog area was kind of unkempt as well. However, back to the beginning, if you want a cheap place to stay and proximity to San Francisco, this is also proximity to the highway. You don't get into any of the traffic snarls. You're quick on and off, and you're ready to go almost anywhere in California.
So it was an easy, hassle-free stopover for 2 nights before we continued on. And Maggie's the memory in this couple. Where did we go after that?
Merced.
Oh God, Merced River Resort.
Merced River Resort, in the middle of nowhere,
Oh, God.
on the banks of the Merced River.
That's why I forgot. I erased it from my memory, right?
This was one of the places. Now let's back up. Very nice staff.
Beautiful, wonderful, friendly, lovely staff.
Yep, the RV park it said is quite a ways off the highway, so that minimizes the noise. It is sitting on the banks of the Merced River, so in a warmer season, I'm going to guess that it's quite lovely.
My first impression was, this is quite lovely. It's not quite a parking lot, it's not quite a resort, but there was a river and I could have gone fishing. My first thought was, I'm going to go fishing or ride my bike because it's starting to get warmer the further south we go. So that was the first impression.
Yes.
But we were too tired to do that that afternoon, and then the next day turned out to be our little day from hell.
Well, we were only supposed to be there for one day. We were supposed to be there for one night, and that was a little stop off on our journey. However, on the way down, Joe noticed something had gone awry with one of our slides, and so he investigated it and called a mechanic, and sure enough, we had to get a replacement piece. Otherwise, if we drove any further, we would have been at risk of tearing our slide cover off.
So we were basically stuck until we could find a mechanic to come in and help us get out of Merced. We found Diaz Mobile Repairs. It turned out to be really good. It just took 24 hours to find the piece. But
Yeah, that was the hardest part.
that was
He
the hardest
great.
part. He was great. He was really recommend if you're in that area. Diaz, very nice guy, very affordable too. And so there we were when I was stuck for an extra night. So early the next morning, 7 a.m., I'm out walking the dogs on their leashes. And I'm walking through the full-timers area, and I look up the hill and I see a pack of 3 enormous dogs running towards us. The biggest one was a Great Dane mix. The other 2 were kind of brindley pit bull mixes. And long story short, within 5 minutes they were attempting to kill our dogs, our tiny little dogs. And I'm holding them up in the air and alternately kicking out at the dogs and screaming for help, and I'm in danger of being knocked off my feet. It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my entire life, happening in this what looked like a peaceful river resort. Fortunately, a large young man emerged from a trailer and started kicking at the dogs and getting them off of us before any damage was done, apart from damage to my psyche and the dog's psyche.
Thank goodness.
And my breathing. Anyway, and he had to walk us back to the trailer, kicking out at the dogs, keeping them off us. So the sheriff was called, animal services was called. There were neighbors' dogs that had come through a hole in the fence that was supposed to have been fixed and hasn't. So I've left a statement there. I've left a statement with the sheriff, and I'm hoping something will be done, because it was just a horrific experience. And what was going through my head was the thought of going back to Maggie with 2 dead dogs. I mean, I can't even imagine. This just would have been so awful. So
However,
that didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and we got our slide fixed. Because we stayed over an extra night, they had to move us to an overflow site, and that's where Joe and I forgot everything we know about packing up and moving sites.
This was a really good learning experience for RV. Because we were only going to move 200 feet, we didn't do our usual checks and double checks. We were very late. We didn't do our walk. Very laid back, so we started pulling off and realized one of our legs is still down and grounding into the ground. Thank God it didn't break.
Yep.
We got that
Or
up.
bent.
Or bent. And then we go to our sites and we pull off on, we're basically parked on the side of the road on a gravel patch. And our RV is not designed to go on bumpy gravel tracks, so I was watching closely and noticed us getting in bed this time with the rear landing leg. So basically that's where we came in. I was lying on my belly,
Scooping dirt out from under the landing gear.
trying to make a channel so that we could get off the road. And that day it just kept giving and giving, right? That's living the dream. First you're nearly killed, and then you're lying on your belly in the dirt.
Actually, you're on your back.
Oh, my back, okay. Lying on my side.
Anyway, so, lots of lessons learned. The next morning we were able to take off and we did our full walk around. We made sure all our gear was up. We didn't get anything caught on the way out of the overflow site. And
we just reaffirmed we will never pull off with this thing without doing our complete, full, we do a double safety check, like we walk around together, we talk it through. Is this up? Is that done? Is that done? Is the gas off? Is the fridge off? Is the heat off?
Are
the legs up?
Gear
Are the legs up? Because that's really useful.
So
are the lights working? We do that, and as long as we do that, we have to take our time.
Take our time.
Never be in a hurry. It doesn't matter if it takes. We read about people who do this in half an hour. It takes us more like 2 hours to get that thing packed up.
From the beginning we get up to.
From the time we get up to the time we're ready to leave in a safe, orderly way.
So next stop was Bakersfield. Now Bakersfield we picked out of a map, and we also looked at the temperature, and neither of us have been down this way. So this has all been a great learning experience, and Bakersfield was one again.
And the website said free Wi-Fi. That was a big draw because we needed to catch up on our work.
So the appeal of Bakersfield was the free Wi-Fi. We had not been getting on with our work, as you could see before. We were having far too much fun in Napa to actually do any work.
We thought, let's get some work done with the free Wi-Fi, fairly warm place, and
regroup, get some rest. We'd have a couple
tired.
of Bakersfield. I think once was maybe a charming place.
When it still had a river.
When it still had a river, we were horrified to learn that the Kern River, which we thought had dried up due to all of the years of drought in California, no. The Kern River was actually hijacked by the city of Los Angeles, and they pulled all the water out of Bakersfield to service their drinking water. So what was the lovely, center of town with lush green vegetation,
Park and hiking
and the
trail.
biking and everything else is now a dried up riverbed, and it's kind of indicative of what we saw in Bakersfield. And to be fair, we didn't see everything. We didn't do a complete tour, and we did see some nice things. But the general feeling
was like a city slowly expiring.
Yeah,
right? It was kind of sad.
And at the same time, you read about it, and it's actually booming in terms of the agriculture industry and the oil industry, and businesses are moving in because there's a lot of access to transport, and the land is cheap.
So basically, this was just our subjective experience. It was not a place that we would ever like to visit again. We might stay at Bakersfield RV Park. What's it called?
A country RV park.
A country RV park. We might stay at a country RV park again, simply on our way somewhere, because huge sites, you could just drive in, you wouldn't even have to unhitch if you didn't want to. Huge roads, huge sites, pull in and stop.
So one of the nicer experiences in Bakersfield, we were so close to Christmas, we actually spent Christmas in Bakersfield. We went to a country sing-along at the Buck Owens Crystal Palace.
It's called a Holiday Music Jam. But I think there were 2 Christmas songs, and the rest was country and western and rhythm and blues.
Always seem to be in the way, so I took myself down to the fair in town on Independence Day. Single ladies, I don't single ladies, Mustang, son of baby. Oh yeah, you better slow your Mustang.
All good.
Local people. I mean, it was fun. It was an experience. The Buck Owens Crystal Palace is a strange combination of a museum, a restaurant,
souvenir shop. And then the music, the venue is kind of modeled on what I could tell is the Grand Ole Opry. So you've kind of got that whole indoor Western theme and the stage and everything. So it was quite an experience, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. The food was only so-so, so I would say, go and have some appetizers and a glass of wine, but save your food budget for somewhere really good.
Prices were high and the food was mediocre. Anyway, Bakersfield. So that was the Buck Owens, and then we went to the CALM. CALM stands for California Living Museum. It's a zoo which only has animals that have been rescued that are being rehabilitated, and they have a wonderful holiday lights festival at Christmas time. So we went to that. It was good, wasn't it?
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. They have a miniature train, which is quite a bit smaller than the one we have in our hometown. So we weren't terribly impressed.
But the lights.
But the light show was really, really excellent. Just absolutely stunning. And you really navigated your way through all parts of the zoo, for lack of a better. It's a zoo.
That's cute. The reptile house was open, but I decided I didn't want to see a lot of snakes at night, so we were quite past that. The lights were wonderful, and it was the setting, the desert and the setting sun and the palm trees. It's like, I've just fallen in love with this whole desert terrain. I've never seen it before, and it's just so different from the rainforest that we live in, and so beautiful.
Very different. Yeah.
Sunsets, the ruggedness. You've got plains, and then you've got the mountains. This rugged, corrugated mountains, and the wonderful sunsets. And I'm sure the sunrises are beautiful too, but we've never seen one.
Sunrise, no.
That's when we were asleep.
So next stop was 2 day. We did 2 nights at Valencia Travel Village, which was just outside of Santa Clarita. And again, it was a very similar experience to San Francisco in terms of avoiding Los Angeles. Joe and I had quite a healthy debate about wanting to see Los Angeles. Joe was a yes, Maggie was a no.
So we compromised.
And we went instead to Santa Monica, to the pier, and we walked back and forth from there to Venice Beach and had lunch.
And we saw the famous Muscle Beach. I've always wanted to see that, where Arnold Schwarzenegger used to work out, and other famous people. A little bit of letdown, I have to say, because Arnold was not there. It was just a bunch of sort of random teenagers trying to do pull-ups, so not quite what I've seen in the pictures. But, being there, Venice Beach was there's no words for it. There's just an explosion of people and stalls and art and people smoking dope and restaurants.
Lots of homeless people.
Crazy people.
Yeah, lots of musicians.
Lots of great musicians.
Lots of great artists. If we had a home that we could just keep cramming through with objects that struck our fancy, we would have been heavily laden by the end of our walk.
Some beautiful stuff down there.
Breakfast burrito, Santa Monica Pier.
Very nice. I'm just starving because there's no gluten-free options, but it's okay. I'll survive. I have some reserves in my body. It gets me through these things.
You just ate 2 gluten-free protein bars.
One gluten-free protein bar. So I will survive. But that breakfast burrito looks good.
They're friendly. Okay, so Santa Monica Pier is the end of Route 66. Route 66 is the iconic highway that goes from LA to Chicago.
Wow.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Which we will probably never travel across, man.
No, it was cobbled together from old cattle tracks and bike routes, and yeah, it was pretty
rough.
What's the word? Rugged.
Rugged.
Anyway, we walked and walked, and the dogs they had a lot. Billy particularly gets overwhelmed in large crowds, so at one point I was carrying him. After walking more than 5 miles, we were hot and exhausted, so we stopped for lunch at the Candle Cafe and Grill right on Venice Beach. The food was not great, but I guess you pay for the location, and the location was great. We started walking back, and we both were really feeling the effects of the walk. We'd done about 10 kilometers. So luckily, we passed by pedicabs. And I think for, what was it, $25? We got a ride back to the Santa Monica Pier, which also was a big bargain. It was something like $10 to park there for all day, and we were right on the beach. A huge parking lot.
But get there early. Otherwise you're back.
It's lovely. This is what comes of good research and planning. You take your giant truck right into Santa Monica and find pull through parking. Oh, I'm gonna pay here. Honey. Hello.
Morning.
Parking $10 free.
Okay.
Papa, come. Papa, come.
Papa, come. I want to go there and get sick again. We'll just go straight down the middle here. I can't even see the lines. Can you see the lines? As we're facing forward.
And the Santa Monica Pier was a lovely experience as well.
It is, yeah.
And I'd love to have been there in summer because it looked like a great place to swim.
Yeah. At the end of the pier, there was a fisherman who's obviously made friends with a sea lion, and I think Joe got some terrific footage of the sea lion chasing fish and fending off birds to get top fish first. So pretty entertaining. If they weren't a couple, the fisherman and the sea lion, they were certainly good friends.
Very simpatico, yeah. And the sea lion was doing the nag. He yelled at the fisherman every time he didn't throw him some bait. So yeah, I would fall in love with sea lions on this trip as well. There's a few themes that keep recurring, like sea lions. Anyway, that was our day there, and then back to Valencia. Valencia was this enormous
Joe
RV
got lost.
park.
The first time Joe had to go scope out the pool, he phoned from the other end of the park, and I had to talk him in. He'd forgotten to take the map.
And I was walking in the wrong direction. It was so big.
Yeah, truly, this was a huge RV park. We thought it was incredibly pricey at $65 for an off-season place.
$65 US per night.
For nothing.
For just to park there and have electricity in the sewer and get lost. They had a beautiful big aquatic center, and everything was closed. The pools were not heated properly. The wading pool was dirty.
The hot tub was open.
One of the hot
first
tubs
night.
was open for one night, and we had a good time there. And by the next night, it was broken.
So we came back from Santa Monica with really tired feet, looking for a nice sundowner at the hot tub, and unfortunately, it was closed.
Poor Maggie was so disappointed.
I was really disappointed.
Plus, we went there with our towels and our swimsuits, and the gate was locked. There was no sign saying sorry. Then we had to go traipsing off to the office, and where they made phone calls and said, "Oh, it's broken." So I thought it was shoddy customer service. Absolutely nothing for what you paid for. I will never go back to Valencia travel.
But we figured out after we did all our carping and complaining, the attraction for this RV park is that it's right next to Six Flags, and we found out out the hard way. We were trying to get out on a Sunday to finish our journey down to Desert Hot Springs. And we got stuck in traffic for about 20 minutes just trying to get onto the highway. There were so many people coming off the highway and blocking it.
So that was our bad. We paid a premium to stay near Six Flags, which we had no desire to actually go to because we didn't. Well, I do not do roller coasters.
I do.
She does. She's the daredevil, but my life is a roller coaster. Why would I pay money to go on someone else's roller coaster, right?
After 2 days at Valencia Travel Village, we packed up and drove the 150 miles down to Desert Hot Springs. A little bit longer leg than we normally do, but the roads were better, much better than they were around Bakersfield. Around Bakersfield, the roads were really rough, lots of hot holes and pavement damage in the trucking lane, and of course that's where you're supposed to stay when you're towing, so we quite often pulled out into the second lane from the right and found that even not very good around Bakersfield.
But I mean, that's the weird thing about California. You're on a secondary highway and it's 12 lanes wide. It's unbelievable.
I know. It's so big. Yeah. Our neighbor at the Valencia RV Resort was he was from San Diego, and he didn't have any better ideas, but he agreed with us that the roads are all utter crap to drive on.
He was so funny. He said, let's be honest, every road in California is crap, and every Californian is an arsehole. That is absolutely not true. It's true about the roads, but it's not true. The people are wonderful, right?
Exactly. That was pretty funny.
Pretty funny. And some of the roads are okay. The roads around here.
The roads around Palm Springs, when we came into the Coachella Valley, the roads improved substantially. We're no longer on concrete roads. Some of the roads down here are actually paved, and obviously that's a more giving material, particularly for hauling. So there's been no issues with that. We are far off the highway here. I suspect that we will do a review of the park.
Oh, absolutely. So we're finally we're at the best park we've ever stayed at, I would say. What do you think?
It's best in a way that I didn't expect to enjoy when I started this journey. When we first stayed at Fort Stevens, I thought that was going to be our journey of staying in state parks with lots of wilderness and wildlife, no Wi-Fi, but I thought that's what it was going to mostly be. And then as we've come down into the California center, we're not on the coast, we found that there's a lot more paved sites than we thought. There's a lot more open space as opposed to trees and coverage. That makes a lot of sense given where we are in the desert.
But the key thing is this is not a wilderness park. This is a resort. People come here for vacations, to enjoy the pools and the spas.
Yes.
And many people come here for the entire winter.
Right now we're having a fabulous time, spending 3 weeks at Catalina Spa RV Resort in Desert Hot Springs. We'll tell you all about that next time when we check in with you. Spoiler alert, there's another gondola, and it's the biggest one yet. So thanks for watching, and please help us grow our channel by liking and subscribing. See you next time.
See you next time.